TV, powered by Azure and presented globally by Microsoft. Today, we have Sherry Hashemi, the Integrated Product Team Lead at Boeing, with an incredible power chat on how did you not quit. Hello, Sherry, and welcome.
Hey, Ideagen. Thank you so much for having us today. I'm so excited to have this conversation with Kim and Sharu as part of the Dynamic Resiliency Summit. I wanted to chat with two of these lovely ladies about how they have not quit, as they've got some impressive careers that they've accomplished and are accomplishing, and it would just be great to be able to get to share their stories with you. So I have Kim and Sharu with me.
Hi, Sherry.
Hi. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll go first. Charu Jain, I'm Senior Vice President of Merchandising and Innovation at Alaska Airlines.
And I'm Kimberly Smith. I am a Global Vice President at IBM, focused on our cloud innovation services.
Excellent. So both of you as executive leadership is phenomenal. We were talking earlier about some of the statistics, and 20% of engineering students, there's been stats that have been reported only are female, and 11% practicing engineers are women. So there's like half are, getting the degrees, but only practicing. Some of the other stats that get rolled around, 43% of women, 23% of men leave STEM fields within 7 years of having a kid or adopting a child. So it's obviously not an easy industry to get through or to pursue with. And I know I've had some moments where I'm like, what is this what I need to be doing? Is this what I should be doing? What I want to do? And Kim, we had this conversation where I point blank asked you, how did you not quit? Because this can be hard. So yeah, I guess what's pulled you to the other side?
So I think Sharu, you're gonna tackle this one first, right?
Sure, yes. So talk about resilience, being in the airline industry and then taking on a new job in the middle of a pandemic. And it's been definitely very interesting and a lot of learning along the way. So I wanted to talk about our company sort of first, Alaska Airlines, the fifth largest airline in the US. And when COVID hit, demand just dropped off like a cliff, like 95% of demand dropped off. And I think, we had to think about, first recognizing that we have a problem and then taking some very immediate short-term steps on conserving cash and getting additional cash flow, and then some long-term structural changes, and then really building the business back. And that's kind of where we are at today. And our business model has completely changed. I don't know, for those of you not familiar with the airline industry, it all depends on schedule, like do we fly to where you want to go, or the price that you're willing to pay for it. But it's now all about safety. So we had to reimagine what our product is. And our product has really become safety for people who want to travel and who need to travel. So we very quickly pivoted, which is, being adaptable in this time is so important. And so we very quickly pivoted to safety. We introduced next level care. And since I lead technology, we pivoted to a lot of touchless and contactless points in the journey. We looked at a guest journey from end to end. And every place where there was touching anything like a screen or being close to an employee, how do we make that a contactless or a touch-free experience? So it was a very challenging time, but it was also very exciting because we accelerated a lot of the transformation and there was a lot of rapid change. And I think that's one of the things that, pulled me to the other side. And we really came together across the company with the singular focus, which was very good. And safety became it's always number one priority, but now in a different way. And we recently, just 2 days ago, we were the only US airline recognized in the top 20 world's safest carriers by airlineratings.com. So it's a great recognition of the work done by our teams. We set bold goals to control our own destiny. We wanted to get to cash burn zero because we knew if we kept losing cash, we didn't know how long this is going to last. Our employees made sacrifices. Our guests were rooting for us. So it's really important to have your employees in the community with you. And, recently we gave our employees free tickets to travel and experience travel so that they could tell their friends and family that it was safe to travel. And through all of this, I think I had to think about what is my role? How do I either add to this, take away from all of this? And it can feel very disruptive and out of control. And that can create anxiety. So my focus was how to get the teams focused, how to support them, because every single person was facing personal and professional challenges. And taking really all our strategic plans and sort of putting them on hold, but turning them into point-to-point navigation. And then really communicate. Mm-hmm. So just the bringing everybody coming together to focus on something, the big challenge, and moving quickly and accelerating a lot of work that we were planning to do. I think that's what kept me going.
That's excellent. Kim?
I love what you shared, because a lot of the reasons that keep you going are what keep me going. And because of that, I think that sense of community, that sense of network and connection is something that in where we are in our time, extremely valuable. So, IBM is one of the largest employers in the world with almost 400,000 employees. And when we think about the impact and influence of what we do around hardware, software, research, services, everything from mainframe to nanotechnology, brain science, to solving for every possible sector challenge and transformation that's going on right now, I kind of pull that into what I consider lifetime legacy. We've been around for 110 years and helping companies figure out where they're going to future-proof themselves. And now is a critical time for that. And so what keeps me going and pulls me through to the other side is that I want a role in that. I believe there are things that I can bring to the table that provide value. And I think through executive collaboration, whether it's introducing new cloud technologies with Red Hat so that Sharu's guest services systems have what they need, or in situations where retail has completely changed, how can we help companies stay afloat? Large scale, small scale, startups. We are really an enabler. And as I've said in the past, technology in the technology sector is an amalgamation of every other industry there. So to be able to have even a small part in that is what pulls me through to the other side.
That's excellent. Thank you. Thank you both. And, the next question I had for you ladies is, why is it important to stay resilient? Do you want to start off?
Yeah, so just as I was just talking about around lifetime legacy, I think the reason for the resilience is because in those moments, whether they be success or failure, success being fleeting and failure not being forever, there are things that we learn that we carry forward with us. And so it is really important to stay resilient because you build new muscle. You build new mind share, builds new assets and capabilities. And so as an example, now that we're not all working in our offices, it requires that, my teams are online really 17, 18 hours a day. And what we've been able to do is become a 24/7 team because of that. We've done a better job at becoming more relay focused, where we can hand off different deliverables and opportunities to work together. We've launched Red Hat on Azure OpenShift as an example. And for those of you that aren't familiar with that, IBM works very closely with Microsoft, very closely with Red Hat to drive solutions. And because we were able to come together virtually over the last 5 to 6 months, we launched something in less time, probably 3/4 of the time that it would have taken us previously. And because of that, we were able to help companies really figure out where they need to go from here. So it's important to stay resilient because you not only learn from those moments, but you can actually use those moments of resiliency to accelerate the next challenge that you're faced with.
That's fantastic. Thanks, Kim. Sharu?
Yeah, Kim, I couldn't agree more. I think, if anything, this pandemic has taught us the value of being resilient, your business model being resilient, your culture being resilient. And from a technology point of view, I would say technology changes so fast. And so we have to, that adaptability, the curiosity, thinking independently, having open-mindedness, taking initiative, all of those pieces that lead to resiliency are so very important. And part of it is also learning to learn, because these things are going to be changing every single minute, it seems like. And so the pivot of changing your business model, we've seen a lot of collaboration amongst the airline industry with A4A on things that impact all our guests, or to our alliance partners. And it's just a different way of working going forward. And I'm excited about that. And it'll be important to keep that muscle that we've grown. And, I think about, as an individual, why it's so important to stay resilient and always be learning being a key, because we don't even know 5-10 years from now, we don't even know the jobs that are going to be there in technology. So the only way you can be prepared for those are really to, understand, be curious, be open-minded, like I said, and learn to learn, because that's not going away anytime. So Sherry, I want to ask you a question. Being with Boeing, there's so much that has been talked about Boeing. So what does this look like in a company that is going through such dynamic change?
Goodness, it's been a ride. I think, from when we initially hit pandemic state, immediately turning to virtual, when most of us are so used to face-to-face interactions, and we have these ways of communicating and these relationships we've built. And we've had this set rhythm of how we've been operating and how we work with each other. And all of a sudden, in a second, it's completely different. And Kim in IBM, we're over 100 years old. And so we're very established in how we've done things. And so we've had to completely pivot and be nimble about it. And it's been interesting watching the team members and myself try and figure out, okay, well, how do we do this? Are the systems up to date? Are we going to be able to get connected? Can I get dialed in? And then how do I figure out how to communicate with my team when, I can't just get up and go walk to their desk, or I can't do a walk by, or we can't just, pop into a conference room and have a meeting. And I think a bit of it in the beginning, you lose some of the people piece as well, because you're inherently in this mentality of like, okay, we'll get it done, figure out what we need to solve the problem. What's the next problem? What are we working through? And then it's, just figuring out how to incorporate people back into it as well. Because when you don't have that face-to-face time, it really changes how you're going to end up interacting. And I think, what it looks like for a company going through dynamic changes is just constant movement. And I think, staying resilient is really the route to go, and to work towards being a solution. How do you be a part of that solution? How do you contribute? And like you guys were saying previously, how do you future-proof yourself so that you can stay consistent and you can stay in the game to contribute and be part of that solution?
That's awesome. Thank you.
It's been hard. It's been interesting. It's been frustrating. I know we've all wished we had faster internet at times. Not so early Zoom meetings or video calls. Like Kim, you were saying, you have meetings at what odd hours in the morning?
At three, sometimes earlier or later. Yeah. But and it is what it is. I mean, we have to remember that the past is the past. We have to stop pining for where we've been and start focusing on where we are and where it's going to take us from here. That's food for thought.
Thank you. Sharu, anything you'd like to leave us with?
I would just say, resiliency is all about being able to absorb stress and unpredictability and thrive in an altered environment. And for me, I always come back to embracing failure, because that means you try new things, and nothing's going to be perfect because you didn't anticipate it. So giving yourself a little bit of that grace to move forward, and this helps me move out of my comfort zone and allows me to take risks and have the confidence and courage to try something innovative, and then get stronger because of lessons learned. So just adjusting to that mindset and being able to embrace the future and that challenge that it brings, versus I totally agree with Kim, not pining for the past.
Mm-hmm. And Kim, you've said this, having the grace and space, and to build off what you just said about having the grace to move forward, I think it's also important to have, if you have the space, if you have the ability to create the space, look out for folks who are around you as well to create a little bit of stability around you, create some firm ground for those around you to stand on if you have the ability to do so, because then you then allow them to have more bandwidth for that grace, and they might take another step. And I think that's part of that resiliency, is creating resilient teams and creating that space to go forth and figure out how to future-proof, how to stay relevant, how to stay on top of it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I'll just add that we need to not forget we're in the top 1% of what the world is experiencing right now, and I think about the next generations, and I have a 12-year-old, and this was the hardest year of her life for a lot of reasons, and the reality is that these experiences that she's having will build resilience in her, so long as she can maintain a growth mindset. And we're at a point of existential threat for so many things that it's a perfect opportunity for us to recalibrate ourselves individually and as a society and as humanity, to really think about what it takes to be resilient. And part of that is everything that Sharu talked about, in conjunction with having that growth mindset. Because if you think about things differently and you look at the opportunity for growth for all of us, and you bring others along, we will succeed together.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Sharu.
Thank you, Sherry.
Nice to see you, Sharu.
Likewise.